First up is Musical Instrument Proficiency. This buff allows you to use musical instruments, and any character can acquire this proficiency by helping Alfira come up with a song in Act 1 within the Druid's Grove. You can find her practicing in the southeast end of town, and you'll need to pass 2 charisma checks in order to progress the dialogue and learn musical instrument proficiency. If you manage to do this, you'll also get Lihala's Lute as an additional reward for helping Alfira. Number 2 is the Brand of the Absolute. This is a permanent bonus that unlocks extra powers from certain items. These powers range from reducing all spell damage from spells by 1 from the Absolute's Protector, advantage on death saving throws from the Absolute's Talisman, a +1 bonus to saving throws from the Absolute's Warboard, +1 thunder damage with thunder damage spells and attacks with the Ring of the Absolute Force, and even inflicting Bane on melee hit from Gloves of Power. You can get the Brand of the Absolute from Priestess Gut in the Goblin Encampment. And if you like that tip, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 content. Number 3 is Loviatar's Love. Loviatar's Love gives you a +2 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws every time your health drops below 30%. This is a pretty sweet buff, considering if you're close to death, you could probably use a little help. To get this permanent buff, you'll need to go to the Goblin Fortress and find an NPC called Abdurak who worships Loviatar. He asks if you want to endure some pain, and if you make it through all rounds of it by succeeding all the rolls, you'll be rewarded with this buff. Also, a really cool trick with this is if you take off your armor before starting, this will add bonus modifiers to your rolls, making it easier to succeed. And now, a quick message from this video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Dungeon Hunter 6, the newest game in the Dungeon Hunter franchise. It is a completely free-to-play mobile ARPG hero collector with beautiful fantasy style. The fast-paced hack-and-slash combat provides exciting gameplay with various builds and skills to utilize as you fight massive bosses. Download Dungeon Hunter 6 now using the link in the description, or scan the QR code on screen if you're on PC. In Dungeon Hunter 6, for every boss you defeat, you can loot, ride, fly, and even summon up to 3 of them on the battlefield to become members of your squad. You can even shapeshift into them. With over 100 unique bosses along with new classes and units updated each month, the fun is endless. Play with your guildmates and battle in real-time guild wars, explore a variety of builds with an expansive skill tree, and trade items via auctions. Download the game now for free on both Android and iOS by clicking the link in the description, or scan the QR code if you're on PC, and you'll get a special starter pack worth $50, which includes 10 summoning scrolls, 1 SSR Lieutenant Demonic Wolf, and 1 accessory pack. You can also use your game account to enter the Lucky Spin launch event to win free prizes like an iPhone 15 Pro Max, PS5, Apple Watch, and more starting October 13th. Check out the description for details. And we're back with number 4. Number 4 is Paid the Price. Paid the Price gives you a +1 bonus to intimidation checks, but disadvantage on perception checks. Also, you have disadvantage when attacking hags. To get this permanent buff, find Auntie Ethel in her gnarled tea house in the Putrid Bog and proceed through dialogue options until you have the option to ask her to remove the parasite. If you agree to her terms, you'll receive this permanent condition. Also note that this not only gives you the buff, but there is a cosmetic change to your character, making one of your eyes look pale and certainly a bit off-putting. Number 5 is Auntie Ethel's Hair. Auntie Ethel's Hair gives you a permanent +1 to an ability score of your choice. In order to get her hair, you'll need to attack Auntie Ethel and bring her to low health, but don't kill her. Eventually, a cutscene will begin and she will offer you a deal to spare her life, and in return, she will give you her hair, which you can consume to improve an ability score of your choice. But be careful if you're an Oath of Vengeance paladin, because if you spare the hag, that will break your oath. So make sure there's another party member close to her and make that person trigger the dialogue instead if you want to keep your oath. Number 6 is See Invisibility. See Invisibility allows you to see invisible creatures within 9 meters of you. The creatures must succeed a dexterity saving throw or lose their invisibility. In order to get this buff, you'll need to save Volo from the Goblin Camp, and afterwards he'll offer to remove the Mind Flayer tadpole from your head, claiming it's just behind the orbital socket. But instead of removing the tadpole, he removes your eye. But Volo, being the good guy he is, replaces your eye with one that can see invisible creatures. It's pretty amazing, actually. You won't need to cast Create Water to reveal invisible enemies when you can permanently see anything invisible using your new eye. Number 7 is Forbidden Knowledge. Forbidden Knowledge increases your wisdom saving throws and ability checks by 1. This is from the book Necromancy of Thay. In order to get this buff, you'll need to read the Necromancy of Thay. The book is found in the room hidden behind the ornate mirror below the blighted village. You can enter from the trapdoor in the alchemist's house. In order to get past the ornate mirror, you'll need to answer a few questions correctly. Once inside, you'll find a locked and barred door with a couple traps protecting this book. Use a character proficient with lockpicking and disarming to get past it and pick up the book. Now, once you have the book, you'll need to find a dark amethyst in order to open it. The nearest one is in the Whispering Depths, which is below the blighted village. You can enter from the well and proceed through until you find the Phase Spider Matriarch. The amethyst is on the ground in that room. There's also another amethyst in Act 3 if you missed this one. Once you place the amethyst into the book, you'll need to pass several checks, eventually leading to learning forbidden knowledge. Some of these difficulty checks are pretty high, so you'll want a quick save before the roll and after you succeed if you want to guarantee your success. And at the end of these rolls, you'll walk away with forbidden knowledge. Number 8 is BOOOAL's Benediction. This buff grants you advantage on attack rolls against bleeding targets. This buff is really good when paired with a Wild Heart Barbarian who uses Tiger's Bloodlust, which causes 3 targets to bleed. That gives your whole party advantage on attack rolls against those bleeding targets. To get this buff, you'll need to head to the depths of the Underdark to find a group of Kuo-Toa worshipping BOOAL. If you sacrifice a teammate to BOOAL, your remaining party members will all get this permanent buff granting advantage on attack rolls against bleeding creatures as long as there are Kuo-Toa worshipping BOOAL. Number 9 is Awakened. This buff allows you to use all of your illithid powers as bonus actions. This buff is incredibly powerful and can be earned within the Githyanki Kresh in the Rosy Morn Monastery. If you go into the purification device and pass all the checks to remain within it, you'll exit with an incredibly powerful permanent buff allowing you to use illithid powers as bonus actions. Some of these difficulty checks are pretty high, so if you want to guarantee this buff, make sure to quick save. Number 10 is the Potion of Everlasting Vigor. This potion grants +2 strength permanently, which can be very powerful considering that is the equivalent of a feat. To obtain this potion, you'll need to find Araja Bloodra inside Moonrise Tower. She will offer you this legendary potion in exchange for Astarion drinking her blood. Now Astarion will pull you aside and complain that her blood smells awful and he doesn't want to drink it. But if you press him and say do it anyways, you're going to lose some approval, but you will gain this amazing potion. A very fair exchange if you ask me. However, if you are romancing Astarion, he will break up with you if you do this and if you insist that he drinks Araja's blood, so be careful if that is also something you're working on. Number 11 is Mystra's Benevolence. This buff grants advantage on concentration checks. This is incredibly useful if you have powerful spells that require concentration. To get this buff, you'll need to head to Balthazar's hidden room in Moonrise Towers. You'll find a necromantic glyph within the room, and by destroying the necromantic glyph, Gale will gain Mystra's Benevolence. This can be incredibly powerful since spells requiring concentration can shift the balance in a fight and make all the difference for your party by maintaining them. Number 12 is the Githzerai Mind Barrier. This buff grants you a permanent advantage to intelligence saving throws. Within the depths of the Mind Flayer colony lies the necrotic laboratory filled with undead monsters. After you clear the room, you'll find a brain puzzle to solve. If you manage to solve it, then behind that door is a brain suspended in cerebrospinal fluid. That brain can be placed in a mind archive interface which is connected to a slack-skinned head. The following dialogue with the slack-skinned head can end in 2 different ways. One option appears to be bugged and has no effect, leaving you to just choose the other option, which is the one that gives you the permanent buff, the Githzerai Mind Barrier. Number 13 is the level 3 Shadow spell slot. This buff is really just an extra spell slot, but it has its own tab and glows purple instead of blue. The only character that can get this is Gale when you choose him as the origin character. You can acquire this buff by absorbing the Shadow Weave off of any of the Thorms after they've been defeated in Act 2. Having Gale be the only character able to get this is actually pretty exciting because this confirms that there is content to uncover depending on which origin character you're playing as, since certain content can only be accessed as a given origin character. So it seems if you want to truly see everything within Baldur's Gate 3, it might take at least one playthrough per origin character. Number 14 is Unstable Blood. The Unstable Blood passive feature makes your blood become highly flammable and explode when in contact with fire. If you gave Araja Bloodra your blood in Act 2, she will offer you a mysterious potion when you run into her again in Baldur's Gate Act 3. You can give the potion to anyone in your party, so this would go great on a melee character who might get hit in melee range and allow for creating a fire surface near your enemies. Even better on a melee tiefling like Karlach with hellish resistance to cut that fire damage in half. Number 15 is Permanent Bless. The Permanent Bless is just like regular Bless you can cast. It gives you plus 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. You can get it permanently on your character by heading to the Circus of the Last Days and talking to Boney. One of the dialogue options is that you'd like a statue of yourself for your camp. Boney will tell you it costs 5,000 gold, and if you pay, then after each long rest, you'll now have Bless on your character who completed the dialogue with Boney, granting 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. And you'll also have a sweet statue of your character in your camp called the True Hero of Baldur's Gate. Number 16 is Tharchiate Vigour. Tharchiate Vigour gives you a permanent 20 temporary hit points after after each long rest. To get this buff, you'll need to ascend Ramazith's tower by taking the portal in Sorcerer's Sundries. Once there, you'll see a curious set of furniture floating and glowing light blue. You can jump down to them to reach the lower floor, and you'll need to use either See Invisibility or find the elixir of See Invisibility on the outer ring of that floor to see which weave button to press. If you press the wrong one, it can lead to activating difficult to kill arcane cannons, so be careful here. You're looking for a plaque that says Vaults. Pressing the button teleports you there, and you'll be looking for a door called Ramazith. Behind that door are 3 more doors and a puzzle. You'll need to pass through the right sequence of doors to eventually find a lever that will open the door leading to the Tharchiate Codex. Now, by reading the Tharchiate Codex and getting the curse placed on you by reading it removed, you will gain 20 temporary hit points after each long rest. Now, it's important to make sure that the character you want to get this buff on reads the Tharchiate Codex first, because they're going to get the cursed and subsequent buff, and that cannot be passed on to any other character. And number 17 is Thief's Memory. This buff grants you +2 to dexterity, but this buff can also change to be +2 of any ability of your choice, depending on your dialogue choice beforehand. To get this buff, you'll need to head to the House of Grief and find the Mirror of Loss. This mirror grants you additional ability points if you can succeed all the ability checks and choose the appropriate dialogue options. When interacting with this mirror, you'll have a number of dialogue options: an Arcana or Religion option to discover the purpose of the mirror, and then another Religion option to pray to the mirror. All of these roles are very difficult and will likely require you to quick save before you attempt them if you want to succeed. You'll have to pass both roles in order to gain the permanent buff. Once you pass both roles, you'll be given the option of a memory to sacrifice, giving you -2 in a given ability based on what memory you sacrifice. Then there's a chance that the mirror will grant you a memory of your choice, granting the corresponding ability points. The option to gain a memory doesn't always appear though in dialogue. For me, it took sacrificing 3 memories to be given the option of gaining a memory. Don't worry though, once you've gotten your bonus ability points, all the -2 ability point curses can all be removed using Remove Curse, and you get to keep your bonus ability points permanently. And those are all the permanent buffs in Baldur's Gate 3. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.